Hi guys, what's up? Now we're gonna go over how to identify what features go on, what face. I actually grabbed one of my old reference books. This is Fairburn Faces, the Fairburn System of Visual Reference. It's basically a lot of different references for faces. They're very dated because this is from, I believe, the 80s or 70s. But there's a lot of good. They show them from different angles. Very good book. I highly recommend it. I'm not even sure where you find it anymore, but this is the name of it: Fairburn Faces and Heads. Really good book. Recommend it. So I'm just gonna pull up the first thing. Right now, we're gonna pull up an older Asian type. Like, how would you draw that? He's got very distinctive features too. I'm going to pick this photo, if you can tell. Hope it's not too bright. So when looking at him, when he squints, it's gonna change the shape of your eye as well. So I'm going to start with the head shape. Head shape right there, very obvious, I think. I start drawing from the outside in. And he almost doesn't really have, his jaw doesn't show that much. So I might even just exclude it. I'm just going to throw his chin there. But he does have some kind of huskiness. Let me move this a little bit. He also has kind of some huskiness there. So instead of connecting the line down here, I'm going to draw it all the way down. His neck kind of has that shape anyway. It almost seems to be going down into his neck. I'm going to use thinner lines over here. Maybe put a little bit of folds on the bottom there. He has some folding on his neck. Drawing his collar, I'm not really learning anything about the anatomy of his collar per se, although I should. I usually just drew what I saw. Drawing it thinner because I don't want it to stand out as much as the top. And then the top of his head, he has somewhat of a mop top. Let me get this right. I want you guys to see this really well. All right. Kind of a mop top. So I'm not really going to shrink the top of his head. His head almost gets bigger, so I'm just going to not exaggerate it too much. I'm going to draw his... I see this shape in his hair. He's got kind of a straight shape, and then it goes round. And so I'm going to try to do that exact same thing. I'm going to make it straight. Then I'm going to round it out at the top. And I'm going to look at that part. He has kind of a small part, top of his head. I'm gonna see where try to find a part in his hair. There is kind of a part right here. So I'm gonna draw some lines I'm drawing very thin lines to kind of indicate where that part is coming from. But I'm trying not to overdo it at the same time. His ear comes out the corner there. He's got a pretty big lobe, actually. I think the older you get, the bigger your earlobes get. That's just a standard rule. I've seen that. Looser the skin gets in that area. So I'm going to draw it a little bigger than I normally would. And draw some of the inner ear stuff coming out. Just a couple lines to indicate that, it is an ear. Now I'm going to look at the axis of his eyes. Let me straighten that up. Look at the axis of his eyes. I would say they look a little bit, by axis I mean, what axis they have. So Yeah, that didn't explain anything, right? His eyes, because of the Asian type, we're trying to stereotype, they are a little bit more angled. Little bit, slightly. But I'm gonna not exaggerate it too much, but I'm gonna maybe they're probably in reality like this. I'm gonna draw them like this. So let's go to do that. Space between his eye. What I normally do is I put a dot and another dot to just start out where I'm gonna start the center of the eyes, and I start drawing the eyes from the inside out so that I don't screw up the center line. Got a little bit of a fold since he's older type. Drawing the upper eyelid first. You can't even see his upper eyelid. That's also a little bit of a stereotype, but it is an ethnic type thing. When you're Asian, you cannot see the upper eyelid sometimes. Well, many times. But of course, everybody's different. Everybody changes. And I'm gonna go to draw the lower eyelid of the right side first. Drawing the ball of his eye is hidden by the upper eyelid. It's just a ball, a black ball. You can see his lower eyelids very well if you look at them. Very well. So I'm going to indicate the lower eyelids. The thin line. Not too thick. I got to be really careful. Thin lines. Like, how old do I want to make him look? He is older, but I don't want to make him look ancient. And now I'm going to go to his upper eyebrow, his eyebrows. His eyebrows are kind of bushy, and they're pretty thick, too. They're very tall. So, it's a very big character type. So I'm going to not draw a big flat. I'm going to draw very thin, wispy lines, making sure I stick with the direction. It's one side. That's the other side. Very big character type that he has. A little bit crease. These two creases I see in his skin. Really thin. I can't overdo the lines. The lines will make him look too old. Look in this area of anyone's face. That is a very concentrate on the center part. That is a big deal. You're trying to get someone's type. In fact, when they identify you on camera, casinos have machines that identify who you are. They'll have identity kind of seeking personnel, and they'll run through records. They will normally what they do is the triangle space between the eyes. They'll look at the two eyes space with the nose, this triangular portion, when they try to identify a person. So it is very telling. I'm gonna look at his nose. He does have kind of a big, kind of bulbousy nose, and if you look at it, I mean, it is close. It's kind of short, really. It is a little shorter than normal. So I'm gonna maybe exaggerate that a little bit. Push his nose all the way up here. I'm putting a very thin line, kind of showing the curvature of the top of the nose. Thin line. He has a square shape at the base of his nose. I'm going to draw that square shape. And you can see his nostrils very clearly. And I am going to draw, just have some round wings of the nostril. Alright. Like I said, his nose is a little high. Because of that, his smile, the upper lip, has some distance between the kind of the bottom of his nose. I'm going to see where I'm going to put that. Following the shape his mouth makes. Kind of this pinching over here when he smiles. The smile does not connect into the folds of the cheek. They kind of have their own. Remember that bow shape we talked about? Very subtle. And you can see his upper lip, just barely. So I'm going to just slightly indicate it with a thin line. For smiles like that, I love smiles like that. When he shows his teeth. Try to draw some very particular characteristics. I love smiles like that. I would push that smile, actually. I would make it thinner and make his teeth longer. You can see his front teeth. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm even going to see how this one tooth, he has one tooth that sticks out more than the other. So I'm actually going to draw that into my drawing. And instead of drawing a space for the mouth, I am actually going to, because his lower lip isn't that poofy, you know? It's really not. And there would be a space in there normally, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw the lower lip in there. So, and I'm also going to draw the gums in the teeth, and I'm going to do that very thinly. Make sure they connect. I'm going to draw a very thin line from the gums to that. So now I'm going to look it over. I'm going to look it over, and I'm going to see, like, okay, what are some little lines I can, like, tie together, or what are some nicks and crannies I can fix? Remember, you're drawing an interpretation of real life. And I could draw this thing 3 or 4 times. I'll have 3 or 4 different drawings, you know. It kind of depends on your mood. He's got a little bit more crow's feet. Draw on the other side. I'm going to draw his ear on the other side because I just feel like it just feels wrong to me, even though you can't see it in the photo. I might make the upper lid a little thicker because I see, like, and there's shadow in this picture, and there's none in this. What I'm going to do is also I'm going to draw on the sides of the empty spaces of the mouth. That kind of brings it together a little more. But that is one way to identify, as one example of a park caricature. Another thing you could do is I could blacken his whole hair. His hair is very black, and maybe leave a shine out. I just don't want to kill my marker right now. Could do that. Could make his face a little wider. Anyways, that's one way to do it. I'm going to give you another example in the next video, so please keep watching. Thanks, guys. Any questions, please post them below.